Welcome, everyone. It's another and our final Q&A today. We are excited to close out 2021. Ms. Haley did such an amazing job last week that she gets to start us off reviewing her 145. And I'm going to give you a couple of samples, and then we're going to talk about what we showed her as a way to teach you how to allow fulfillment and get purposeful about owning your 145 into daily activities. Hello, Stephen, glad you joined us. And of course, everyone else that, beat Stephen here, but that's another story. We're just being playful now. Okay, I'm gonna share screen. And this is Haley's 145. Miss Haley, anything you wanna comment on what you reminder of last week?
Yeah, the main thing that we really focused on together was celebrations. But this week it's going to be a little bit more practical and, daily how you can get these things accomplished. So if you take a look at my 145, just to go over some of the things that I wanted to do, and then we're going to show you, and this kind of goes along with a question that Nadine had said that she wanted to discuss, is like how you stay focused and how you actually get these things accomplished. So with that being said, we have, if you could scroll up just
up or down?
Up, yeah, all the way to the top. So some of the things, other than celebrating, some of the things that I wanted to do was creating a realistic task timeline to ensure that everything that we needed to accomplish as a company was getting done on a regular basis. So one of the ways that we do that is by having a schedule, like a daily schedule, a weekly schedule that includes each of these tasks that need to be done on a daily or weekly basis.
Example.
Perfect example. So this is yours, actually. This is mine, right? Yeah. So April has one, I have one, and we were just working on this earlier this morning, so there's more to be added, but it's a work in progress. So anything that needs to be accomplished on a regular basis should go on this schedule, so that you ahead of time allot yourself the amount of time that you need to get it done, so you're not overwhelming yourself. And then you're also kind of creating a checklist to make sure that everything that you want to get done or that needs to be done in order to accomplish your 145, you just put it on the schedule and you say, I'm going to do this. A
couple, I'm going to eavesdrop or add some value. Is a couple of things to notice. These are free and downloadable on our website at onelightahead.com under the resource page. And you'll notice that we add some color coding in that you can make whatever you want. So if you notice in mine, I have coaching Zooms or calls, Q&A, prep time, marketing videos, etc. And we were working on updating some of this. And you notice that I purposely put in colors so that I can pay attention to how much time in what category. So for some of you, you'll be doing purposeful lead generation, purposeful marketing, purposeful preparation time. One of the things that Haley talked about is I want to make sure I put in some reading time. So like she's building a manual update, and we actually need to put on our schedule because we've got some manuals started. We haven't filled in some of the minute details into it. And so we need to go back and put those on the schedule. So these are samples of day-to-day activities and processes. Is there anything else you want to cover on the calendar?
No, just if it's on the 145, it should be translated over to a calendar. So as you're, coming up with your one inspiring statement, that's more of a big idea. It's not task oriented. Then you go to your 4 supportive things that are going to, get that number 1 thing accomplished. And those are, again, more big picture. Then you get to those 5 details, and those 5 things are really what's going to end up on the schedule, because those are the daily rubber meets the road. This is actually what you're doing in order to get that 1 thing accomplished. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the 145. Once you complete the 5 supportive things, they could be translated directly over into a daily schedule, weekly schedule, whatever the timeline is appropriate.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, the fun part is I asked Sam in advance if we could use one of his examples. So I asked him to put his 145 into a Trello board. If you're not, it's a project management system and everybody can have access. So right now, Sam, Haley, and I have access to this board, and it's a personal productivity board. And I purposely took one of his 145s and put it into a simple checklist. So, and that was just one of the items. And he said, these are the 5 people I want to reach out to. Is that accurate, Sam?
Those are the kind of the 5 ways to fill my own pipeline for leads.
And so is this, and my understanding is I can copy this and keep converting, make it into a new card. I can keep copy and pasting this, etc., duplicate, and I can check it off each week into a Trello board. That is one way of also having a tool to fulfill what you say you want to achieve. We help people build these Trello boards for their teams, for their systems and structures. Sam, you have a whole nother Trello board for your each client journey.
Correct.
And valuable tool. Is that, and Sam, when you see this, is there opportunity for much more specific detail?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you saw the opportunity for taking your 145 and put it into a project board.
Yep.
That's simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Now the questions are going to come because Nadine's first question is, well, how do I stay focused on this? And Sam, and before we stop the presentation part of it, I just want you to see that we call this a personal productivity board because, again, it comes back to that millimeters. If it's not on your schedule, it doesn't happen. And yet, when you have this Trello board, in Dallas, you have one as well, you have an opportunity to say specifically what you want to do and how you want to do it. So say here, I'm in this pipeline, I tagged Sam and said, here's a sample checklist for one of your 145s. He automatically got tagged. If I want Haley to do something for him in the board, I can go in and literally tag him or her into the, and Stephen, you have a question.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is that this can be used as a team management tool. If you're the lead of the team and everyone has their jobs to do during the day, and you can monitor it and be in contact directly with them as you expect things to be completed.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes. You
From
see
anywhere.
What's that?
From anywhere.
Exactly. And from anywhere. Jalen, I've been using this for a while. One of our coaches got us started on it and implemented it, and we see the value of implementing it for our teams as well. It's nice and simple, and it can function. You can also add checklists. You can add members. You can add due dates, any attachment documents you want to add, etc. And you can copy. And she's teaching me how to share and all kinds of fun stuff. Thank you, Ms. Haley.
Yeah, and there's so many attachments, power ups. Like Trello, the software that we're on right now, is affiliated with Dropbox, Google Drive. You can attach like Slack. Pretty much anything that you're already using, you can integrate into Trello, and they can talk to each other, just help you organize yourself in more areas. But I did want to mention specifically for these checklists, like when we're talking about the 145, if you wanted to use this for your 145, there is an option to take one of those items of the checklist and then create a whole separate card for it. So you know that it's an item on the checklist, you know that it needs to be done, but if you wanted to get even more specific on how you were going to complete it, you can convert it over to its own separate card and then, document it out that way.
And is it talks to your calendar as well, or you
can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's if you click on the calendar power up here, it'll make a calendar for you as well. And so this isn't attached to anything right now, so it's blank. But if you had your calendar attached to it, it would pull up all of your things as well as the tasks that you've assigned yourself on Trello.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
it
Great
it
tool.
will overlay on Google Calendar.
Yes.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, if I enable sync, I haven't done it yet because of us transitioning. My Google Calendar has multiple calendars on it. So we're still working on a couple of things for me to sync it. And I have mine synced to Calendly on top of that, so people can schedule with me automatically. So there's some things we need to make sure all cooperate with each other. Us, I can get double booked, which has happened a few times. So everybody, any questions on the Trello board, the 145, any of these things before we dive and open up for Q&A?
Yeah, real quick, April. Part of my 145 was to actually, I don't know, maybe I'm being redundant here, but my 5 strategies to support my statement. Number 2 was schedule it. So I don't know. Is that redundancy here, or is that okay to put that as a strategy for what I'm trying to go for there?
So is it number 2 as the whole overarching item is to schedule it?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a pretty big.
That's pretty, yeah. And then I would have the 5 support strategies underneath scheduling it. So that would be pretty tough to do because it's just like, okay, Trello board, calendar, that's not going to work. So, okay, cool. That answered my question. Then I can just read through some of this.
You know, one of the things that a lot of people learn about the 145 is it's a tool to, and I call it a narrative business plan. A lot of people, they get scared away when they think about numbers, or they think about, you know, in the real estate world, you break it down to how many listings and how many appointments and all the other different things. And that applies across the board in any type of industry. Yet a lot of people will get caught off guard if they get too much into the numbers. So they need to get their head wrapped around a narrative statement. So that's where the 145 does a great job of helping you create some narratives. Yet the more specific you can get, the more detailed, the more deadlined. A lot of people will move this 145 into a 12-week document. Instead of being a whole year out for 2022, let's just do the next 12 weeks. What does the next 12 weeks look like? And how, and for some people, it's one project. I mean, I have one individual, I mean, I literally had somebody create a 145 to clean out their garage. I'm not kidding. So Nadine.
Yeah, so that would be something that I would have to do because I don't focus well, little ADD. But so I do like the 12-week work year. That works really well for me because it gives me a sense of accomplishment in a very short time. And I actually move faster when I can do that. So, because then I'm not focusing on everything.
Well, and the other thing, Nadine, I think is so powerful. Some people are people that can shoot for the moon and land among the stars. And some people are the type that, you know, I'm the shoot for the moon, land among the stars. Haley's the one that just give me the first star. Just tell me the first star. Let me reach that one first. And so we are a good balance for each other because she works on keeping me at the stars and I work at keeping her at the moon. So it's a push-pull item, right? Nadine, I think you fall into both categories as well. There are certain things you're really good at the moon, and there's other things you're really like, I need the specific details to stay narrowed in on my focus. So I'm gonna come back to that question and as we work our way through this. So thank you for that. Any other questions on all that? Stephen, you have a comment?
Yeah, I look at the 145 as it can fit many different roles. So you can do even something as large as a 5-year plan. And then you can additionally do your 1-year plan for this, 2022. And then along the way, you're going to have benchmarks that you're going to want to reach. And you can do a 145 for each one of those as well. So it's a tool that you can break anything down to ridiculousness, to its smallest piece and parcel, and have an opportunity to be successful every step of the way.
And have tangible focus items. I love that. Great job. Dallas, you said you listened to the video and had a couple comments you wanted to make some notes on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wasn't in this like a possibility Monday, the overall theme here? So great little segue, I guess. So the video this morning kind of covered fulfillment and what we're doing to be purposeful about goal setting upcoming here in 2022. And I got a lot of power this morning, or a lot of just momentum from thinking about how I've gotten here, right? So what was the approach, the attraction, the people that I've attracted, what we've completed, what we've celebrated, how my belief systems kind of helped me get to here. So it's pretty neat stuff. And where I started is coming from a rock bottom, and rock bottom is a really great place to start. It's a great place to build a foundation on. So my first theory, or I guess because I broke this down today, and I was like, man, if I had to do it all over again, how would I have done it? How did I choose cell phone repair? How did I choose this company and design my thing? And it started with passion, is what it was. So I knew I could go and be an authority in any field, as long as I could love the process, right? As long as I could fall in love with the process, I would be okay. So what problem then would I enjoy solving for folks the most? And then once that was clear, it was easy to go all in and become fanatical about where I wanted to plant my flag and how I wanted to plant it. So it's a mindset thing. I embraced the challenges, failures, and shortcomings before they ever even happened. I knew that was going to be part of it. Sometimes, man, I'm telling you what, sometimes life will absolutely save you from yourself. If I had always been given everything I've always wanted, I'd be weak, insignificant, likely powerless. Like, you develop significance when you don't get the desired outcome and push through anyway. That's where a lot of this has come from. So if I were to start in a field that I knew that once things got rocky and things got hard, if I didn't love the process, I wouldn't continue doing it. So that's really how I've been able to show up every day and wake up without alarm clocks and just be fired up and ready to be here. So to tie this all around, right? Look at it. I had to look at it this way too. So in 75 years, nobody will remember that you tried and failed, right? You won't remember or care that someone didn't believe in you. Your scope is too narrow at that point. It's too short. You just gotta go for it, really. When facing fear, look big picture. When feeling doubt, look to the math. I like to do numbers, so and nice on the Trello board. I didn't know I could tag people, so I've added my numbers to the Trello board. I was like, that was April and Haley, not seen this yet, but I've got to actually add your name to it. So that was a cool pickup today. So when feeling insecure, invest into someone else. So that's really huge for me. So now going into 2022, it's all about consolidating timeframes, growing myself so that others can plug into me, so I don't have to keep doing what I've got to do. Proverbs 25:12. This is huge today. To humbly receive wise correction adorns your life with beauty and makes you a better person. So I was like, well, great. That's exactly what I needed to hear today. So really cool, like where my head was able to spin after watching the video this morning. So that's just kind of nuts. And 2022, that made some sense.
Excellent, Dallas. And first of all, Sam, I know you appreciated the fact that Dallas wakes up without an alarm clock.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, and the gift of what you hear from Dallas, and anybody that wants to chime in, Nadine, you asked specifically today that the question you wanted to put out to everybody is, how do they focus? And the question I put out on our Possibility Monday today was, how do you find fulfillment? Who are you attracting by your approach because of what you believe is actually creating, completing, and celebrating what you say matters? That's the gist of what I said in a shortened version. And that when each of you listen to Dallas, you hear his passion, his commitment to own his day-to-day activities, and his willingness to hear and receive feedback to tweak it, is part of the journey he's on to fulfill his goals. Dallas, is there anything else you'd add to that?
Right, no, and that's where I'm at now, is that we're wanting to consolidate my time frames. So I know April uses this one all the time, that Starbucks took 9 years before they learned that, I can be more profitable if I started brewing our own coffee. Well, I don't want to take 9 years. Like I want, that's why you invest in the work that you do. That's why you invest in the coaching, and you're I'm so open to just being able to say, hey, you know what, there's people that's been in this position before and they've hit these certain roadblocks. I don't want to hit the same potholes. Like, so I don't know, that's what I want 2022 to kind of, I want it to excel on an exponential type of time frame rather than a linear one. That makes sense.
Thank
And I
you.
think coaching is how that's gonna happen.
I love your commitment. Who else wants to chime in and or ask questions about all of what was just said? Don't everybody jump at once.
I have a question for Dallas.
Well, I'm going to say it does make sense. I love what you had to say about that. And when I look at like my own time schedule, the things that I am the most committed to and the most important to and give me the most fulfillment are exactly what I stick to my schedule on. So it's exactly like what you say. I've got, you know, sometimes I'm over here and sometimes I can be over here. Like I'm really great at certain things and I'm not so good at other things. So you kind of hit the nail on the head. And so that I've been doing this, doing this like this, it's called an inner path thing that I've been working on. And one of the things they ask is, why are you still creating chaos in your life?
Mm.
And it was in my business aspect and in my financial aspect, which go hand in hand, and it's fear-based. It's self-worth based. So the things I feel really good about myself and I'm confident about, I do no problem. But those two things, I still struggle with those things. And I don't hear that, like when Dallas, you're talking, you just kind of go forward ahead. And it's like that fear is chaos. It's frigging chaos. And so thank you for sharing that, because now I'm like, okay, now I just need to get over that.
Just look,
Oh,
that was one of them. When feeling fear, look big picture. So it's just the time frame is too small. You just
yeah.
Nadine, thank you for sharing, Nadine. Haley, you had a question for Dallas, and then Sam has a comment, I can tell. He's thinking of one anyways.
Yeah, so Dallas, last week when we talked, we were kind of discussing about how it's easier for you to come up with the big one and then the smaller fours, but the practical 5, you know, the actual get down and do it. I'm curious, after what you realized from the Possibility Monday video and fulfillment and, you know, kind of like relearning what your goals are, has that changed like how you feel toward getting those 5 things written down, or has it given you more direction, or where do you feel like you're at?
Direction is a good word for it. Getting them written down and actually doing them. I don't know. I think I want to offset these hats. Is what I want to do. I was doing it again this morning, and where I was sitting here actually doing fulfillment, and the attitude has completely changed from what it was 3 years ago. Like, that's what I looked forward to doing 3 years ago. Like, oh my gosh, I get to fix 2 cell phones today, and I would be fired up. That would be a really big day for us, right? Well, I come in this morning, I've already got 3 in my door. I crank out 4 repairs inside of 40 minutes, and this is like, I don't need to be doing this. I've got taxes, I've got Trello boards, and I've got people to train. I've got other things that I necessarily need to be doing right now, rather than this $80 an hour repair map work. I need to be doing $1,000, $10,000 an hour work, how to structure what I want next out of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, when I'm looking at breaking some of these down and what will get me there, I'm also looking then at which one of these can I offset, which one of my team members is going to be able to fulfill this role better than I can. And that's a real humbling thought too, because 3 years ago, nobody could fulfill any of this as well as I could. Now it's like, well, maybe I'm the weakest link here. I just have the vision. So plug them in, let's go. And that's really where this is taken. So it's still a little bit of a process. I don't get to focus on it as much as I like to, especially with Christmas and holidays and functions and plays and church services. But it's this is top of mind, I guess you could say. And so, and that's what April's helping me out with too on the one-to-ones, and seeing it, just asking the right questions. That's part of it too. Is I sometimes ask things in a kind of a way that really get the response that I'm looking for, and it can set people off a little differently. So I use April a lot to refine how I ask people hey, can we get on board with this? And it's almost like it's their idea the way that she asks. So it's going through and putting some of that into that 145 as well, and just kind of drawing arrows and being like, who do I want here? How am I going to ask that? And then it's a whole nother like set of 5 blocks underneath once I have my arrows drawn out. So it's a mess, but it's making sense to me and it's traction. So.
Yeah, well, what a difference, because I remember a conversation with, I mean, Stephen, all of us were in the room when somebody asked you, Dallas, do you want to be I think it was Stephen. He's like, do you want to be the cell phone repair guy or do you want to be the business owner? And I remember at the time you were coming from more of the perspective of like, but I enjoy
100%.
repairing these cell phones. And now it's sounding like you're sitting in the owner's seat a little bit more now. And so I'm noticing that difference. I'm kind of curious when that happened, because it's very obvious to me. Yeah.
It's what I bought April. What are you talking about?
So
That was the whole idea.
Nadine, you're muted, so I can't hear what you're saying.
I said, I thought that's funny. It's when I bought April. I thought it was funny.
The gift of coaching is I get to be each of your mirrors, and all of you are learning that you all have different mirrors, right? Each of you have a different need, a different expectation, and a different way of reforming. And Dallas, I love that you're being purposeful and paying attention to how you get to ask questions and how you get to think from the outcome, not the reaction. And that's what I'm hearing you own and really get purposeful about. Yet I want each and every one of you to hear something. And the reason I asked, and Haley and I were talking about, whether or not we're going to be in the same box today. And we're still figuring out all the details of our office spaces and lights and cameras and all that fun stuff. And with that, Haley did an amazing job last week. And I can tell you, my service wasn't working. There was nothing that was going to happen. I called her, said, here, log in, get it handled. Thank you. And I knew I could do that. I knew that I was blessed to know what she's capable of. She knows the material inside out. I didn't have any question of her ability to do it. And I knew most importantly, Dallas, and for each and every one of you, I want you to hear this, I knew her heart was in how do I serve each and every one of the people in the room. As long as anyone on my team is in that mindset, then I'm operating from what I say matters, what One Light Ahead is about. If I allow somebody to take my seat in any point in time and they don't have that heart, they're not representing, and you got to meet Becky last week, and Becky said the same thing. She says, anyone we allow on her team, if they don't reflect April, they don't belong on our team. And I really want you to hear that, because Dallas, I get to, from the gift of being your coach, remind you the opportunity that what you're building, that foundation, that shattered dream is, I get to take my shattered dreams and I get to make it powerful. I get to take this crap and make it fertilizer. I'm sure a few of you might recognize those statements. The gift is, what am I building and how am I investing in people and how do I move them forward to fulfill what we are designed to service and provide? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just putting it into practice, I think, is going to be a challenge sometimes. I still get into my little emotional states sometimes when things don't go the way I want it to go. And it's just, I don't know. It's easy to be focused on the short term sometimes.
So we go back
to here and now.
We go back now, Stephen. Well, first I'm going to start with Sam. Sam, I know you're coming. I'm coming to you, Stephen. What are you hearing, Sam?
Well, I think that that 145 really turned really. I know that I didn't fill it out the way that Haley filled it out last week, and it ended up being this sort of roadmap for me on starting out from scratch versus where I need to be to have literally $1 million business, making $1 million every year in the agency. And when I went to school, I hated going to class. I hated the tests. I hated the syllabus. I hated all those little things. To me, they weren't practical, and I was really looking forward to being out in the real world. And now that I'm in the real world, doing that 145 and creating that agency roadmap really brought me back to, well, this is basically a syllabus between when the semester starts and when it ends. And it has, I'm not exaggerating, it's really filled me with a great sense of calmness and security and peace about what I need to do every day to get there. The past couple of weeks have been mentally very, very rough in terms of where I am and where I want to be, and being impatient and all that kind of stuff. And now it's like, well, I now have a roadmap to get there. So that's just kind of my, I guess, self-reflection about the 145.
And you were ready to own it.
Yeah. I always knew that it was my fault about where I was, but mentally, and April needed to give me some hard love. Mentally, I was ready to go too. So
Thank you for the permission. And we both got to see, thank you for sharing. We
Yeah.
both got to see it just exude out of you. It was awesome. Stephen.
Well, I've done several 145s over the years, and it's interesting that every time you ask me to do it again, it just blows up. You start with a couple real simple, this is, yeah, I've been doing that, and then all of a sudden you get it on paper and like, oh my gosh, and it just, everything grows legs. And now it's like a 1, 4, 5, 15, 30. I mean, it's like, so listening to Sam, that kind of resounded with me. When I moved out of my office, well, when I had my office, I had my 145 on the wall next to me, and I would reflect on it regularly. And it is a roadmap. It's like having your GPS on your phone telling you, I arrived at the office. Now what do I need to do? Oh, next is, oh yeah, that telephone. Yeah. And I got to call people. It's your roadmap, and it can be a daily roadmap. It can be a weekly roadmap and a monthly roadmap. And since my roadmap has been in a box, I have not been following my roadmap. And thank you, Sam. It just dawned on me today. I was looking for it, and I'm like, it's in a box. So add that to my next thing to do today. I got to go look through my boxes and find out where my 145 is that I had previously filled out, and my yearly goals. I had 1, 3, 5 yearly, 5-year goals, and they're all in a box somewhere. So I need to get my roadmaps and my life map really out, and start getting busy again with that purposeful direction.
Mr. DeSena, you were in education. When you heard Sam use the word syllabus, how did that resonate with you?
Yeah, the thing about syllabuses is that, unless you're going through chapters 1 through 15, and your syllabus reflects such, they always change. And a syllabus isn't a roadmap, though. A syllabus is it gives me shivers, because it's a certain level of accountability, and either on the instructor side or even on the student side, the student has expectations that you're going to follow the syllabus, and when you don't, the student gets wigged out. And then as the instructor, if you don't follow the syllabus, you start getting wigged out because you've made that commitment already to do that. That's why you give it to them. So I think in any case with the 145 or syllabus, you just have to make sure that you're committed to do what you put on paper before you put it on the paper.
Well, and the gift of what you just said, and ironically having a time in the education system and learning rubrics and syllabus and all kinds of fun stuff in the education system, one of the gifts that we have so much fun with is the fact that, I attempt to create a syllabus and it changes the whole doggone time. And the gift of when you surround yourself with people that know your heart and know where you're aiming, they know how to help give it back to you, which is what I get to do with each of you, in saying, this is what you said you wanted. How are we going to make sure that it shows up on it? And do we need to, Stephen, I would tell you, don't bother going and find the old documents, recreate the new ones. The old ones will show up showing you how far you've come. And the reason I say that is there's a reason you put them in a box, and you literally get to recreate a whole new stage, if you will, a whole new platform. And there's some added features now in your current situation that you now have the ability to have some extended resources and income that were not in your original business plan.
Correct.
So there are some opportunities to think a little bit bigger. And I love Dallas's reminder. Remember that you've got to be conscientious not to get so far into fantastical thinking that you get too far out. That's why we want the 12 weeks. Yet we want you to be in big picture so that we know what the long-term target is. That makes sense?
And that's why I like the 145 is you can have the experience of working through the long-term goal accompanied with your fantastical thinking. But then once you put it down, you have to support it with all those supporting steps. And all of a sudden you get partway through it and you're like, ooh, that was really fantastical. Okay, here's realistic. And even though, you've used the visual of shooting for the stars and landing on the moon. Sometimes we're not even aiming at the galaxy that we're in. And that needs to be reeled in and kind of, if that's what you want to do, great, support it. Oh, I can't support it. Well, then you can't do something you can't support. So reel it in a little bit and get something that is, beyond realistic, but not so fantastical, you can't support it to get there.
So that goes back to the video, and then we'll open it up for any other questions on anything else you want to discuss today. Is we talked about setting the goals, which was the 145 last week. And today we were to talk about fulfilling it. Now that we've got it clear, we've got some specific steps. We have a schedule, a project management board, whatever it may be to fulfill it. It also, as Dallas talked about when you listen to the video, is what is my belief system? Is it something I truly believe is possible? Am I surrounding myself and attracting and approaching things from a perspective? Thank you for listening, Dallas. And for Lynn, is it showing up in the day-to-day creation, completion, and celebration? And our little dance. Whatever it is. Who or anyone else want to comment on that or ask another question?
Well, I think it's great because now I can see myself focusing a little bit. Sorry. But now you just given me some great tools to help focus a little bit. And also I'm going to be hiring my cousin actually. So she's going to be managing some things that I really suck at. So I like the Trello board because I can have her do a lot of those. So that really will help because the stuff that I just literally cannot focus on. She's really good at that. She's going to be doing that.
Yay.
So that really helped me kind of, as I was taking notes, just redefine what I don't want to focus on. And, and so thanks for, it's great.
I'm excited to hear. And it's like, you have some clear defined purposes is what I hear. And
yes.
And you said you got one of the 145 done.
Yes, just one. But I didn't get, I got the one. And then I got the 2, not the 4, 2, and I got the 1. So that's about what I got. So, but you know what? I accomplished it.
Amen. Yeah. Something to celebrate. Love that. Anyone else? Right? Any other questions or thoughts for today? Don't everybody jump at once. Wow, we succeeded.
We did. I do want to say a word of encouragement. If you feel like you're stuck in that fantastical thinking and you don't know how to lay out your next steps, just ask yourself, what's the next right thing? What's the one thing I can do immediately that would chip away at this maybe very big problem? And if you can only get one thing down, write it down and do it, you know. But you can slowly chip away at your big fantastical monsters that way.
And stay in action and moving forward.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone else? Well, looks like we get to give you 12 more minutes to your day. Enjoy a powerful week, and we will be back on the second Monday of January for Q&As, and we'll get that on the schedule and get everybody into it. Enjoy. Have a beautiful holiday season. I'm sure we will see some of you individually. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you. Bye.